Quick food review offered at Disney After Hours. I much prefer sweet popcorn, tastes like crap, tastes like heaven, Dasani is the devil's water. Disney's Hollywood Studios, formerly MGM Studios, first opened in 1989 and is themed to the golden age of Hollywood, as well as a general celebration of cinema, both of which I would not have been able to tell from walking around the park today. I am gutted that I missed out on this era of the park that celebrated cinema, as I now have a much deeper appreciation for film, so to return to this park that felt like a mismatch of IP was a bit disappointing. But is this park worth your time and hard-earned money? Well, let's find out together, shall we? Today I will be reviewing the park both retrospectively from previous visits in my life, along with thoughts that I have gathered from my most recent trip where I attended an after-hours event. This is an event where you can enter the theme park late in the evening and stay late into the night, with the hope of lesser crowds. I was only in Orlando for a few days, so to make sure I visited all the parks I could, I had to get a bit creative. I'll review the after hours event itself towards the end, timestamps below, but the excitement I had before coming here was pretty dang up there, mainly because of key memories that I have with this park, and the fact that I hadn't been there in about 10 years. So there was plenty for me to discover for the first time. Since it had been so long since I was last in the Walt Disney Resort bubble, when I passed the welcome sign, I had to record it. I was so pumped for the next couple of days under the Mouse Overlord. I will be referencing the Mouse Overlord later actually, when I mention an issue I had with the park, so stick around and all that jazz. The walk to the park is rather unassuming, with the only real landmark looming in the distance being the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. Although I was mighty impressed by the amount of public transport on offer here. Way more than Universal, but then again, Disney has so much more area to cover, and more often there are more people taking these services. Tell you what was mental to me, after you enter the Disney bubble, all the signs change, so that you know you're in the Disney area. All the signs became purple with yellow letters and a red accent. I just found that, and still do find that, mental. Arriving at about 6:45 PM before being allowed in at 7 PM thanks to my after hours ticket, getting through the unassuming but quite nice looking gate was nice and smooth, and I'm going to be mentioning this a lot probably, but shout out to every Disney staff member here. Everyone was so friendly and helpful throughout the day. After a rather basic entryway and sign, you are greeted with a long path with shops littered everywhere, ending at a recreation of the Chinese theatre in Hollywood. I will say, despite me poo-pooing the overall theme of this park of themes, the entryway still evokes that feeling of classic Hollywood. At least I would assume, I was never there. But the facades and buildings, along with the excellent selection of music, made me feel like I am walking down a street in Hollywood, thinking I may randomly bump into a famous star while being offered a pack of cigarettes. Except, of course, all the shops here are Disney themed, of course. Although I do wonder how much of Hollywood is owned by Disney now. Speaking of, I couldn't think of what to wear that I owned that was Disney. Obviously this isn't. But the mouse, obviously, and then Peter Griffin, he's owned by Disney now, so yeah. This first street you walk down may not be as impressive as, say, your first walk down Magic Kingdom's Main Street. Side note, by the way, although I do plan to review Magic Kingdom one day, I feel I'd have to redo it as there is so much to do on Main Street alone. Like, did you know there's actually a barber you can visit on property? That is mental. But your first walk down Hollywood Studios' version of Main Street, Hollywood Boulevard, is still pretty impressive, especially at night, with all the beautiful neon from the signs illuminating the slightly dim area. Almost as if they want you to enter stores to buy stuff, eh? But I challenge you to visit this park for the first time and try to walk anywhere else but down towards the Chinese Theatre the first time you walk down that street. It is plotted out so that it would catch your attention and draw you in. So let's ignore that for now and move to the left to the Echo Lake portion of the park, a location which all revolves around a lake with a goofy dinosaur one end with an alright looking boat on the other. I'm sure these two things are related to Disney in some way, but I couldn't tell you how. There were quite a few eateries and shops knocking about this area, one of which I ate at before, being the Backlot Express. Look at it. I am sure you can guess the type of food you can eat here. Then again, the dinosaur is actually a facade for an ice cream shop, and the boat for an eatery, so maybe this is the best part of the park. I remember there being an American Idol thing in the theatre that the Frozen sing-along is now in. I'm showing footage of it on screen right now, because I want to have my genuine first reaction be when I edit this section, because that sounds like a horrible idea.
But this time, we're taking you out of your living room and putting you in the middle of the action. Oh yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night. You really got me. You really got me.
So let me just say, it's all about advice for you at this point, furthering you in your immediate endeavors as a singer. So if you come back for this evening's finale, try and sit somewhere in the middle.
Well, Joey, don't worry, SJ does not.
Okay, so if someone's not the best, they will throw shade. Okay, fair enough. Honestly, I expected that to be terrible, but that looks perfectly cromulent. That looks perfectly cromulent. I personally would not go to that, but you know what? I wrote this bit in the script because I thought this would be terrible. And no, it's not terrible. It's perfectly fine, so... Another attraction I remember, this time I actually did it, was the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular. It is a show that educates the fine audience and myself around how stunts in the Indiana Jones series were performed, mainly with a focus on Raiders of the Lost Ark from memory. It is an enjoyable show, although you can watch the show online, and from my research, it is pretty dang unchanged from over the years. So I would say if you are limited on time, I would just watch this online. Otherwise, hell yeah, it is a good time. 30 minutes off your feet, and the cast always seems to give it their all. No hate from me.
Going down?
Minnie!
I got him!
He's back!
There, enough, all the way out.
Now for one fresh in the memory, and one that I think is in every Disney park around the world, Star Tours The Adventure Continues. Originally called Star Tours and not featuring the new trilogy, Star Tours is about taking the guests into the world of Star Wars on a guided tour through the world of Wookiees and funny screaming droids. Correct me if I'm wrong, that was the actual plot. A nice and simple idea which really helped you feel like you were in the movies, and it almost made it feel real. Of course, things go wrong as these rides do, but on the surface, the ride's idea is simple enough. Meanwhile, the current plot is about C-3PO and R2-D2 attempting to safely return a spy that is in the ride vehicle to the Rebel Alliance. As someone who isn't really into Star Wars, this plot felt a bit less welcoming to the everyman, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Walking through a forest setting and under a AT-AT or AT-AT was very cool. It felt to scale, and the queue itself felt, well, shoot me, out of this world, with the lighting and the overall atmosphere being pretty great here. Although I was in the warm Orlando weather, so going from warm to cold almost made me feel like I was heading off on a journey into space. Seeing the ship we're going to be in with R2-D2 and also C-3PO mucking about in the line was cool, as well as this geezer dealing with the luggage below, who I am pretty sure was the original host of the Star Tours attraction. The retheme and the facelift really did help the ride though, at least on first impression. The pre-ride video's very cute. I love how old this animation looks, and one touch I really did like is how she swaps languages, and there's like a little wind up as she changes dialects. The Star Wars cosplayers doing the pre-ride crap was cute as well, and then we are on our way with our 3D glasses in tow. After sitting down, there was an unusually long pause, with the only light illuminating the room being the welcome aboard sign. I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but it did build the hype for me, since this was my first ride at a Disney park in such a long time. After our pilot C-3PO and R2-D2 have a bit of banter, the ride began. And straight away I noticed that the 3D in this ride was way more crisp than in any ride that I did at Universal Studios. The glasses themselves felt like the difference maker here. There are many different scenarios this ride has, which play out as the ride progresses, which makes re-riding Star Tours well worth your time. I'll put on screen how many different possible scenes there are to view, but I bet there's a fair amount here. As for the scenes I got during my experience, the baddie I got to see was Big Man Darth Vader, who really did not sound like the one that we know and love.
Oh, shoot! Prepare to be boarded.
And he also said, "Oi fam, there be a spy in your vehicle and that, and him over, and man will have to pull out his red member." A cute touch is that on the screen next to the main screen would be somebody on the ride after Darth Vader called us out. A nice bit of immersion that I had seen previously that day at Despicable Me at Universal Studios. Yes, I just contrasted Despicable Me with Star Wars. I bet those minions could beat stormtroopers in a fight at their full power. Get on it, Death Battle. After that, we moved on to a scene where we were flying around AT-ATs in the snow, which I think I saw on the pre-updated version of this ride. Princess Leia believes that 2 droids and a bunch of tourists are her only hope.
Help me start tours. You're my only hope.
And a bit of shooty bang bang took place before the spy arrives at their destination. And I guess we do as well. Very obvious scene changes aside, Star Tours really is a great attraction. It eats the crowds well, has variety in what you can see, and can be quite thrilling if you choose to immerse yourself. The score, plus C-3PO actually being in the same vehicle as you, moving about and reacting to what's going on, is pretty cool, even if you're not a Star Wars fan. It's nice to have a physical guide for once in one of these kind of rides. I thought it was an awesome touch. You know a ride is pretty damn great, even if a non-fan of the IP can dig it, and want to go on it again. Public message to whoever took their 3-year-old on my one and only ride on this trip, who proceeded to cry the entire time. I'm sorry, you probably had the tough dilemma of asking for the ride to be stopped, so he would shut up, but then you'd ruin other people's rides, or just try to console the child in their hopes that he'd shush. I'd have said just call off the ride and go again to save everyone the earache, but oh well. Be sure to ride Star Tours The Adventure Continues if you're ever in a Disney theme park, and be sure your little child is ready for it.
Yes, Arturo. I believe this adventure is just beginning. What are you looking at? Go away! Go away!
Passing through the gift shop that looks virtually unchanged from the first time I passed through it nearly 20 years ago, I wanted to explore the park, check the wait times, and see what was cracking. After snapping a few pics and some terrible B-roll, I noticed all the wait times still weren't the best, so I thought I'd better do some of the smaller attractions that would not be open during the after hours event, so I rocked up to Walt Disney Presents in the animation courtyard to have a gander. Although this was like 90 minutes till closing, the area was still dead. Like, I am the only person in this area dead. I am assuming that everything in this area, this Little Mermaid show, Star Wars Launch Bay, which is an area where you can meet Star Wars characters and look at props, and this Disney Junior show were all closed. That would make sense. It was just weird seeing an area of a Disney theme park be such a ghost town. More on that later, although in a different light. Walt Disney Presents is about retelling the history of Walt Disney and the Disney company as a whole, as well as previewing the newest shit that Disney is making. There is a short film playing in a theatre which gets played throughout the day. I have seen it in the past, so I didn't bother. Plus, I bet you could find the whole thing online. As for the exhibit, it was cool to see concept models of things such as the iconic Magic Kingdom castle. Those are things that only the original creators could provide, and online video essays can't. However, I don't know about you, I like to hear the history of something from an impartial party, someone not related. Do you think you're getting the true whole story from the company who's telling the story? It was for sure fine. Don't get me wrong, like I said, the models were cool, but considering the exhibit ends with a prop used when filming the Percy Jackson Disney Plus show, which I wrote this in like March 2023, is this already cancelled? This exhibit is more to remind you on how great Disney is and why you should give them money, more than the history of it, I'd argue. Brand synergy, man. You gotta love it. Then again, I'm a cynical British twat, think of that what you will. Plus, we are now spoiled with all the great Disney historians online, so there's that too, which lessens its appeal. From looking at the map, this area on the surface seems to be a place to almost look at film and Disney history, although I feel like I am reaching, as there is only 2 actual attractions here that do that, plus the kids show. I think there's some good potential here, with more attractions based on the history of Disney. You could get more specific, history of Disney animation, live action, etc. Sure, it wouldn't get as much traction as the other areas of the park with roller coasters and dark rides, but then hardcore Disney fans and people who want to learn about Disney could be more attracted to it. For example, the history of Mickey Mouse could be interesting. Just shooting the shit, I bet there's some people out there with way better ideas.
His first actual screen appearance was at the Old Colony Theater in New York in Steamboat Willie.
Keen to get more of my bearings, I wanted to explore more, as I genuinely do really enjoy exploring theme parks. From leaving Animation Courtyard, I noticed an area that was pretty much fully dead, with the only bits of interest being, from memory, a massive billboard for a film or show to come, and a Meet the Incredibles thing. I believe this is where Toy Story Mania used to have its entrance, before that got moved with the opening of the Toy Story Land in this park. More on that later, don't worry. More walking, and I came across the Sci-Fi Drive In. I actually ate here years ago, and all I can say is, I think I would have enjoyed it loads more now than back then. So it's a restaurant with the main theme being that of a 50s drive-in movie theatre. When walking in though, on first glance, it may look a bit cheap and shit. I believe it is on purpose. I believe it's supposed to emulate a purpose-built set you would see on a movie set. The movie posters dotted through the walkway were nice, as well as the terrible looking props. It all adds to this cheap cinema feel, which I kinda like, not gonna lie. The reveal of the drive-in itself is pretty awesome. The low lighting, fake night sky in the background, and the screen itself is mighty cool. Sure, the ceiling is themeless, something I noticed a lot throughout Disney attractions actually, but in this case, whatever. The food looks pretty boring, but what do you expect? You're kind of paying the luxury to eat in a themed drive-in. As for what they show on said drive-in screens, it looks to be a mix of adverts from the 50s, as well as movies and animations from that time period. I'd love to re-review this place one day, but since I'm a solo traveller, it seems I'd be sat at a side table, not at a car, unless it was like a super slow day. Mark my words, if this reviewing theme park crap happens, I'll go back there and do an in-depth review on that place. I'll also go to theme parks armed with more than just my phone, but we all start somewhere, right? One note though, this was in the Commissary Lane portion of the park, which, I mean, it's an unthemed little area where you can meet Mickey, eat at the Sci-Fi Drive-In, and go to an ABC-themed quick service restaurant. From there, I got lost for a little bit before finding what I wanted, Grand Avenue, and Muppet-Vision 3D. I love this little corner of the park, and I believe it's not long for this world, so I'ma big it up while I can. This land seemed to be a Muppets land, considering it's only themed around those felt fuckers. And also, there is plenty of videos out there documenting what the plans were and what was supposed to be here before Jim Henson's passing. But what we did get is still cool. Along the street, there are some lightly themed windows which, yeah, cool, whatever. But once we enter the Mini Muppets area, we are welcomed in by a Miss Piggy water fountain, which gave me a great laugh the first time I saw it. Pizza Rizzo, I have heard, is an average eatery that serves Italian food, and then finally, the Muppets 3D, or Muppet-Vision in 3D. There is more showing on the map, but I didn't get to check that out. This area did look pretty cool at night. I love the Muppets 3D sign, and to kill time before the Fantasmic show that I will be for sure making in time, I thought I'd check this out. I walked in line hoping that I would be just in time for the show. To my annoyance, I was alone in the waiting area, so it seems I'd be waiting a while. I walked straight in, so sadly I can't comment on the queue, apart from the entryway to the pre-show, which, yeah, whatever. The pre-show room was massive, with lots of Muppets references, and very cute in-jokes. The pre-show itself was about 10 minutes long, and when I saw the timer, my heart sank a little as, well, I got things to do. To keep the guests entertained, there were various screens in a line with Muppets coming in and out and doing stuff while playing up to the fact that the jokes were on various screens, such as someone looking for someone and going from screen to screen to try and find them. I wasn't really vibing with the pre-show, and it did start to get on my tits, but in the last few minutes, my man Gonzo came out, did a little tap dance, and I was all ready for the show. We enter a pretty nice looking and rather large theatre, with a cute little Muppet-Vision medallion on top of the stage, as well as two of those higher up seating areas that rich people can sit in. To my wondrous surprise, the one on the right opens to those two miserable cunts who like to mock everything, aka my spirit animals. Sorry, Mole Man. The show begins, and I won't spoil the whole thing, but the plot of the attraction is that Kermit is showing us around the Muppet Studios, as they prepare their show to demonstrate their 3D film technology. In typical theme park fashion, something goes wrong, and we watch it all play out. As the film progresses, the two cunts interact with the people on screen and comment on what's going on, which I adored. There's a live actor, a penguin orchestra, people break out of the film and into our world, lots of fourth wall breaks, there's obnoxious 3D, and I love it. I really adored this show. It is well worth your time if you've never seen it, and if you haven't seen it in a while, check it out in person with all the effects and trinkets before we lose it forever, considering this is the only version remaining in the world. I feel like I did see this for the last time on my most recent trip. After asking someone where I could watch the Harmonious show, of which I was then told, actually it's called Fantasmic and there's no way you're going to make it on time, I rocked up at exactly 9 PM, only to be told that it is full. There were so many people having a go at the staff, God bless them. I thought, oh well, I saw it in the past back in 2012, and to review a live performance through watching someone's video on a 2012 era smartphone in low lighting would just not do it justice, so I respectfully refuse to review Fantasmic on this occasion, and hopefully I can review it in the future. Little update, since I actually wrote this line, someone has actually uploaded the 2023 show of Fantasmic in 8K on YouTube. Link is attached below. With this small setback, I thought now is the time to check out the wait times and see where the night takes me. After all, it had just begun. On the bright side as well, the Hollywood Tower Hotel looks pretty cool at night. I wanted to save some of the massive rides, the big hitters, for the after hours event, so I wandered over to Toy Story Land. This land replaced the Studio Backlot tour. I did do it, but I remember jack shite about it, so moving on. Toy Story Land, you're greeted by a massive Woody who is for sure actually Tom Hanks. And the vibe of the Toy Story Land is that you've been shrunk down to the size of a toy. If that's the case, then why are all the toys so big? Wait, there are some army men toys who walk around the land, so I guess we are the size of toy soldiers. Okay, that makes sense. My bad. The land is laid out with Connects, massive versions of toys like this laser gun and this Pixar ball. That was very cool to see. Even the toilets have dominoes on the wall.
Yeah, I just took photos in the toilet. Don't ask.
The Toy Story music playing as you walk around and having characters say hello and interact with each other really adds to the ambience and childlike joy you could have when walking around this area. The little fairy lights helped a lot too at night with said ambience. If you've watched this channel before, you may remember, probably not, you've got more things going on in your life, that I covered the Toy Story Mania video game. Well, it's time to come full circle, as I review the ride the video game was based on. Also, someone please correct me if this is like a Mandela effect or some shit, but I swear this ride used to be called Midway Mania before the Toy Story Land opened. I swear it was. The queue for this ride is wonderful. Walking into a playset filled with a variety of large toys such as Ludo pieces, Uno cards, those monkey fuckers that can hold on to each other, and even a Woody's Roundup card game. This queue is a joy to look up, down, and all around, trying to find any cool nods to toys from either the films or real life. Of course, queues are boring, and just standing there sucks, but I have been in much worse queues in my time. Once we are by the ride vehicles, we have a waiting area, designed a bit like the land outside, connects structures with fairy lights illuminating the room. After getting way too interested in the ride system's computer, just gonna let you take that in for a second, I was ready to get on my own ride vehicle. The vehicles have a nice design to them. Personally, I liked the Toy Story logo on the front. They are double-sided and can sit 2 people, and each player has a gun that is mounted onto the vehicle. Toy Story Mania is basically a fancy shooting gallery, but with 3D. You go from screen to screen trying to get the highest score possible. The Wii game ironically covers every screen you will face on this ride, so if you want to practice at home, you could revise with that. What you can't revise for properly is the shooting controls. The movement of the guns felt fine, but I gotta say, your arm, whether it's your wanking arm or not, is gonna get tired. My biceps were aching after just one go on this ride. What you do here is pull the cord, and that fires a bullet. What impressed me so much was that I was going hell for leather to try and get some points, swapping arms per screen and making sure I got as many points as I could, and the pull cord worked like a charm. They must get battered day after day, so fair play to Disney on that one. It also makes a very satisfying sound. Each screen itself is nothing out of this world. Toy Story characters pop up to talk some shite, you get to shoot a variety of targets, and yeah, the game's not that deep. The transition from screen to screen is pretty thrilling, and the overall ride itself is very fast paced, especially with how little time you have per screen, as well as the music blaring at you. There are some mind games at play here too, of what screen is next, as you have to adapt how you have to aim, as yeah, a toy arrow may shoot as you'd expect, but shooting hoops at an alien will mean that they curve, so there is for sure some skill in this. I'm not saying there isn't. I can imagine some overly competitive dad trashing their kid in this ride, only to have them both come out to a disapproving mother. The ride itself is nothing new as far as I'm concerned. Like, I know there's a Naruto version of this ride over in Japan with like the same ride vehicles and stuff that I really want to do one day, but the Toy Story charm, the queue, music, rewritability, and how easy this ride is can pull out the competitive nature in people. Toy Story Mania is a great freaking attraction that the whole family can take part in and then talk about after the ride. Same goes if you enter with friends or a loved one. I went alone, so my dear friends of the internet, was this score not bad for the first time in 10 years? Let me know. Slinky Dog Dash, the mid-range between a child coaster and what someone my age would think of as a fun roller coaster, it did look good. However, the wait was still long, even right before the park closed, so sadly, I couldn't do it on this trip. So that leaves one attraction in this land, alien swirling saucers. After being allured in by Buzz looking down at me and judging me, you walk through a rather thinly decorated queue, and watching the ride, let's be real, this looks a bit shit. Something you'd see at a local carnival or something, perfectly fine, but not something you'd think Disney, you know? But sitting in the ride, you know what? You better strap in, as you're gonna get flung the fuck about. You're sat in a little pod and spin around in a circle. When you reach a certain point in the circle, you swap over to a different circle and get swung around more. One thing you do not feel while watching off-ride footage is how rough the transitions are. Like, the vehicle will judder as you move from one circle to another, and it ruins any chance I will re-ride this again in my life. There's some obnoxious music that plays, proving even more that this is made for little kiddies, yet you get thrown the fuck around like you're in the ring with Ivan Drago. Personally, I would pass on this ride, just because of how rough it can feel, despite it looking slow and boring off-ride. On the bright side, look at this alien driving around by himself. This gave me genuine joy. The after hours event had begun, so I thought it was time to finally hit up what I believed to be the busiest area of this park. Galaxy's Edge. Firstly, kinda smart of Disney to just create a whole new place in the world of Star Wars. This means they can just fuck around and do whatever they want pretty much. Next, let's review the land before the attractions. I can't comment on any of the walk-around characters or shows as A, they weren't going on during this event, and B, I really couldn't care about these two things personally on this occasion. There's a lot to be said about an entrance, I've got to say. The way a cool entrance can transition you from one land of a park to another. It's really hard to do. How do you naturally go from one type of landscaping and architecture to another? I think a good example that comes to mind is Diagon Alley at Universal Studios Florida. The land is masked by an entrance if you're coming in from the outside, making the transition feel seamless, especially with the sound effects of the bricks to emulate the effect in the film. A few examples that don't mask the entrance per se is one of the entrances to Jurassic Park at Islands of Adventure, the walkways to the Sesame Street land and China Aren't Too Bad at Portaventura in Spain, and even entering the Forbidden Valley at Alton Towers all come to mind as either seamless or natural land transitions. Basically, the key to doing a good transition in a cheap, simple way is just a bunch of trees and a pathway from one land to another is good enough, I'd argue. Good enough that I wouldn't pick up on the fact that we are changing lands. Anyways, all this build up is to mention that the entrance to Galaxy's Edge, at least the entrance that I used, was rather lacking. I remember on vlogs seeing the entryway and the coming soon sign, and was wondering what was possibly hiding behind that sign. And no matter what the contents of the land is, my first impression of it will forever be the smooth aesthetic, not even a few steps in, has now changed into a rocky surface, not even after rounding a full corner to mask the change. It just kind of happens. First impressions matter a lot. Like, for example, on myself and my partner's first date, I didn't know it was a date, wore trackies, invited an American family to our table, asked if I could finish off her food, and didn't pick up on any signals from her, and still to this day, don't think there were any. So Star Wars in that. Although I was hoping for a bit more from the landscaping as I approached Rise of the Resistance, and the area around that attraction is a bit naff, with the only bits of attention being stalls selling stuff and the vehicle from the films. This looks cool, I can't lie. But as we keep walking towards this built-up area, I must say that the blue light illuminating the backdrop does look cool when contrasted with a town. Said town is really cool. It's built up really impressively, with lots to look at and admire, including droids, vehicles just parked up waiting to be robbed, so many stores and eateries to go in. My review of this land cannot do it full justice, and if I ever got to the point where I could re-review this and re-review everything in this land, I bet this section alone would be like an hour plus, easily. Everything is so goddamn well themed. It really is impressive to someone who doesn't know that much about Star Wars. The stores are perfectly themed and felt natural to enter and exit, although the cynic in me thinks this is corporate shit gone mad and there is no way some of this is getting through customs with ease. This land has exclusive cokes. That is so fucking cool. There's so much to digest here. Like, who is this guy? I am willing to bet just getting a bottle of water here costs more than my student loan repayments. But I can't diss the immersion. Speaking of, I will mention this again later, but I had Wi-Fi problems all night, meaning I had no idea of the wait times and I would struggle to get back to my hotel. So I asked someone in Galaxy's Edge for some help with my issue. Little did I know that they think this is professional wrestling in the 1980s here, as kayfabe is alive. So all the cast members here have got to talk like Galaxy's Edge is a real place. God bless the woman who tried to help me while keeping continuity. I remember something being said about like sending messages from light years away or some shit. No hate to her, but I think I left more confused than when I was before. TLDR about Galaxy's Edge, this land is pretty wicked. I wish I had more than an hour here. Dear God, I bet it's pricey here. And yes, I did rattle on so much about a wall. I am writing this exact section on May the 4th, 2023, ironically. So the Disney Parks on YouTube was streaming a flipping droid DJ in the land playing funky beats. Bruh, Coca-Cola is canon to the Star Wars universe. What a world we live in. I am so fucking hot you have no idea. Attraction time! I kept seeing stuff about Rise of the Resistance online, talking about how it was made, the tech behind it, how it's got amazing theming, etc, etc. And considering I'm not just gonna point and go, oh, I know that, I think I can give a fair critique of this ride. I dare to think of riding this ride during peak times, as for quite a long time in this queue, there is next to nothing to look at. The deeper you go into this catacomb, there are some cool props to look at, but for the first hour plus you'd normally be waiting, there is not much to look at. You're also trapped if, say, the ride goes down and you wish to go back and try another ride. I had to leave the queue on Flight of Passage at Animal Kingdom, and it was a very unpleasant time. However, I noticed as I walked through the catacomb that there were some QR codes dotted around the ride. I grabbed photos of a couple of them, and I think there were actually quite a few QR codes. From my research, which there was oddly next to nothing on besides an IGN article, these QR codes allow you to do Star Wars-esque puzzles, and you do story missions too. I wish I got to do these, but you have to use the Play Disney app, and that uses the location of your phone. Next time, eh? So, problem here. During the After Hours event, a good amount of the pre-shows were turned off / walkthrough, so I had no idea what the story of the ride was, and had to research after the fact. The first pre-show has a BB-8, aka the Dibby of the Star Wars universe, in the room with us, and Rey, aka Daisy Ridley, best known for her role in the British TV show Casualty and an interactive life-saving training video, are aiding the Resistance against the First Order, and Kylo Ren, probably for his hate crimes in the movie BlacKkKlansman. Look it up. These two geezers have got our vehicle ready for us. This one looks like he couldn't give a flying fuck about anyone but himself, and we move on. The next waiting area has a Resistance fighter jet with a BB-8 in it, which does look cool, but I never got a clear view of it as I was being rushed through the line. Next pre-show scene. The two mofos in the previous room are actually in the room with us, with this geezer, Lieutenant Beck, being a full animatronic. Holy shit, this looks amazing! I am gutted I never got to see this in person. In typical theme park story fashion, things go wrong as TIE fighters attack us and our convoy. The First Order, the bad guys by the way, take us in and we follow someone into the next room. I didn't have that. I just kept walking and wow. On video, this room looks fine, but in person, the scale of the room is incredible, and there is a lot to love. To begin, look at how damn detailed this vehicle is. If I remember rightly, this is the vehicle we just came out of. Next, the stormtroopers in formation look pretty sick, as does the massive screen of space. And finally, the TIE fighter... yeah, it just looks cool. We continue walking, and we're now in a more sterile, metallic looking area. We pass more stormtroopers, and then a member of the Resistance picks an area for us to wait. Now, on many of the walkthroughs online, I could not see this, but when I was assigned an area to wait with a group, the member of the First Order, probably to kill time between the next pre-show in the room we are about to go into, took the chance to take the piss out of us in the most PG way possible, and not gonna lie to you, it was a wonderful surprise. For some reason, this guy decided to pick only on the children in the group that we were in. He missed out on a golden opportunity to try out some new material. I mean, I am British after all. Plenty of material there. Another room, another pre-show. Except for me, this was my first, so I was very excited at this point to get some plot finally. If you're riding this normally though, I am sure at this point you were just ready to get on the ride. The General and Kylo Ren spout some crap, Mr. Ren says we know where the secret base is, and then they walk away. Okay. After feeling a little baffled at the that was it of it all, a cool metal cutting effect happens to the left of you, as a member of the Resistance ushers you to an escape pod, aka the ride vehicle, and at long last, we are ready to ride the damn ride. I'm willing to bet that for many, all this build-up would be incredible, basically going on a whole journey before even starting the ride, making it a complete immersive experience, and I can fully see and understand that, but I was personally grateful for the one pre-show. That pre-show alone told me the story, mainly thanks to the very generic dialogue. If you've seen one secret base, you've seen them all. The door cutting effect was very cool though, as was the walking experience after the first pre-show. I do feel bad if you had to wait through all that though. I could see this ride having like a 3-hour long wait normally. Man like John Boyega, best known for telling two kids to go and watch Naruto and attack the block, tells us that the vehicles that we are in will attempt to guide us to escape pods that will send us to a place called Batu. We begin. After narrowly avoiding a security droid, we are discovered by stormtroopers, who miss every shot as we escape. There's a droid on the front of the vehicle navigating us, by the way, and he is talking with Lieutenant Beck, the geezer from before, who basically acts as the narrator for this ride. The next room is mighty impressive. As we glide under AT-ATs that were a wonder to look at up close, a fight breaks out around us as we attempt to escape, although we go up instead of down to the escape pods. This, by the way, was as smooth as butter. You have no idea you're being moved onto a lift. What I was already loving with this ride at this point was there was so much going on, and at any point there was something to look at. Like, let's take this room alone. AT-ATs as you drive in, droids around you on screen that notice you, animatronics of Resistance members to distract your attention while your vehicle moves into position, then the surprise of going up, only to be greeted by someone actually in the AT-AT. Anyways, we avoid shots from the AT-AT pilots, only to be met with Kylo and the General, as they witness the fight going on in space. It was here, once again, I noted the amazing attention to detail this ride has. Kylo turns around to say our efforts are hopeless, and we escape for the time being. That time being about 5 seconds, as Kylo superhero lands and does his best "I'm coming to get you" walk. Doors close on him, but he decides to stab the ceiling, which is a freaking cool effect, even though it's so simple when you research how it's done. Doesn't always have to be fancy to be effective, eh? We run from Kylo into a room with the ship's guns. The music blares loudly as we witness more space dogfighting. That of which, on video, again, looks fine, but in person, it looks pretty fucking cool. The ship has been damaged, with a simple but effective lighting effect, and we hear "abandoned ship" over the intercom, but the doors ahead of us shut as Kylo Ren pulls us in. The pretty great moving animatronic asks us once again about this dang blasted secret base, but the wall behind him gets blown out as we run away, and a massive piece of ship covers him up. Pretty jank cover up aside, watching this effect back is really impressive. How the pieces of the wall fall back to show the screen, the wind effects, and how the animatronic reacts. It's well done, and in the moment was really impressive. Minus the piece of ship. That felt clunky. We make it to an escape pod. We stare out into the carnage we are about to face, and then drop. There is a freaking drop on this ride that caught me off guard and brought a massive smile to my face. Star Wars dogfighting happens on the screen in front of you as you escape and crash land on Batu, and are welcomed back by Lieutenant Beck. Not Admiral Akbar like I thought it was when I first wrote this, since I didn't have any of the pre-shows. We arrive back in what I believe to be an impressively large airport hangar, and then there's no gift shop, which I respect for immersion's sake. Rise of the Resistance. Even as a non-Star Wars fan, I have to admit, this ride is incredible in my opinion. It's technically amazing. This is the Disney that younger me would get excited about in the lead up to my theme park visits. This attraction is gargantuan in scale, adventurous in ride experience, and really is an impressive, immersive experience from the moment you enter the first pre-show. I am mighty impressed, and I hope I get to re-ride this in the future. Top marks to Rise of the Resistance, and it is up there for my favourite attraction at the park, although this may get beaten later on a certain elevator or lift, as we say in the UK. let's head back into the town in Galaxy's Edge, which I believe is Batuu, now that I think about it actually, and ride the other attraction at the other end of this land, that being Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run. Wow, the exterior is really cool in person, especially compared to Rise of the Resistance. With Rise, I am guessing the intent was to have a rather basic exterior, perhaps contributing to the fact that we are supposed to be spies? I don't know, might be reaching there. But contrast that with the exterior of this and... whoa. You get to see the beast you'll be piloting in all of its extremely detailed glory. As you walk in and through the line, you get a closer look at parts of the Falcon that you couldn't see from the outside of the queue. And I'm sorry I keep saying this, but it was impressive. Don't get annoyed if someone in your queue slows down ahead of you. They just want to get a good look. Heck, I did when I got an aerial shot of the vehicle. I stopped and took a photo. The first part of the queue is you walking through what looks like to be a workshop. And I must say, the props were all really well produced and were great to look at. There was a pre-show. It was operating during after hours, but people wanted to just keep walking. I bet the plot of the ride is: the First Order is bad. We are recruiting you to aid in our fight against them. You'll be operating the Millennium Falcon. Did I get it right? The wonderful theming is doubled or even tripled as we enter the Millennium Falcon itself. It is wonderfully recreated, with so much detail around every nook and cranny. I can imagine people stopping here once again for photos, although it felt very cool for our group, as there were only 6 of us in the room, so we really did feel like this mission that we were going to go on was our own. It was really cool. I was assigned the role of the gunner. Cool, I thought, that sounds good. But the foreigner stink must have been emanating from me, as the woman in front of me offered me and someone else their pilot roles, as it was both our first times. Not to look like a prick, I said sure thing, wandered in, ready to begin my mission. There are 3 roles in total, the pilot, gunner and engineer. However, there are 6 people in total on the ride. So, 1 pilot goes left and right, while 1 goes up and down. I was given the left and right, and you get the hang of it fast. My co-pilot, bless him, really didn't get it though, and we were crashing left, right and centre. Well, up and down, but you get my point. Gunners and engineers are both roles that are nowhere near as exciting. When you're a gunner, you basically hit a green button when it flashes, or when a baddie appears on screen. You don't aim per se, that's more down to the position of the Falcon, which is down to the pilots. Engineers, meanwhile, unless they are told to do something over the intercom by someone to, say, press a button, you press a button to repair the ship when it takes damage. So on the surface, the ride seems cool, but it's like 1/3 cool, as the gunner and the engineer roles fall kind of flat. Basically, if you have a kid, give them the pilot role. If you don't have a kid personally, but have one in your group, make sure they don't get it. They have to learn that life sucks at some point, so it's only right that you should teach them that lesson now. The game itself on screen is fine. You shoot some stuff, avoid some stuff, and the Star Wars music plays. It's not bad, and the gameplay is very basic. I am sure Steel Battalion fans are laughing with their Xboxes right now, as well as VR players with their flight sticks. But what makes this ride worth experiencing once, even in the shittier roles, is the ride vehicle itself. The vehicle you're in is super well themed, and it reacts amazingly to what's happening on screen. Your pilot crashes into something, you're gonna feel like you really did hit something, and then slow down. It's cool stuff. In the moment, with all the stimulation you're getting from the movement of the ride, the screen in front of you, the geezer talking to you over the speakers, and the music screaming at you, it is a thrilling experience. Once you get off the ride and reflect on what you just did, unless you're the pilot, the experience could be seen as a letdown. You are given a score when you're done, like the gunner gets told how accurate they were, so there is some re-rideability, and I was hyped as hell to re-ride it if I got the chance. But on reflection, I did enjoy it, but I would not queue long at all for this. It would have to have been a walk-on. After all, you're basically playing a fancy video game. But A very immersive one, granted. However, if Disney Quest was still open today, I feel this attraction would be better suited there instead of Galaxy's Edge.
Yes, you got one! Excellent, my friends!
I thought it was time, so I made my way back to the centre of the park and tackled the ride inside the key landmark, the Chinese Theatre, that of which is called Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Tell you what, as I stared at the neon sign beckoning me to come on in, I was reminded of a period in this theme park's history when the Chinese Theatre was covered up from various angles by Mickey's sorcerer's hat. Madness. Anyways, the ride that used to be here is one that I adored on reflection, the Great Movie Ride. This ride was basically a love letter to cinema, with every angle and area of the ride showcasing an unmatched passion for film. The queue was beautifully decorated, being littered with movie props and posters from various films from all periods of cinema. The ride itself was a guided tour through film, with a bit of storytelling shenanigans thrown in there for good measure. Sections from this ride that stand out in my memory. There was an animatronic of Gene Kelly, recreating an iconic Singing in the Rain scene, the genuinely creepy alien portion, that Casablanca section with the plane, the Wizard of Oz show scene, and the ending montage that just screams, we actually give a shit about movie history. I enjoyed it as a teen, and I'm willing to bet if it existed today, I would be just singing its praises for like 20 minutes. But instead nowadays, we have Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Let's enter with a positive attitude and let's get this show on the road. Or railway. The Chinese Theatre's queue still does look nice, although I swear I remember there being a bit more architecture in here. The movie posters are still here, although now they are replaced by contemporary Mickey Mouse shorts, which, by the way, I am personally a fan of. I remember finding one randomly back in 2018 and then binging all of the ones out at the time. I thought they were all very well made and pretty dang entertaining. The day I'm recording this, which is the 28th of July 2023, I just got news that these cartoons were actually cancelled, so rest in peace to those Mickey Mouse shorts, I guess. In the pre-show room, we are welcomed by a cast member, and we get the chance to watch a short film. Mickey, Pluto, and Minnie, rest in peace Russi Taylor, are singing a song as they begin their vacation. Goofy, who for some reason is operating a train, who hires this man, greets the threesome, and chugs along. But a pie is lodged into the exhaust of the train, blowing it up, and we get this really cool effect of the explosion opening up a hole in the screen we are currently watching, acting as if we are going to be entering into the world of Mickey Mouse. Goofy greets us and then asks the cast member in the room with us if he can guide us to the train he was driving, as Goofy offered us a ride on said train. And I guess in theme parks, you have no free will. We enter the train and begin our journey into what I can only describe as a fever dream. It starts out simple enough. A room with not much going on, and it establishes how the ride's going to play out. Physical sets mixed with screens. Alright, I can dig it. The colours are vivid with a high level of contrast to aid in the goal of making you feel like you're in the cartoon world. Mickey and Minnie drive up in their whip, and after a brief conversation, the track switch for the rail falls over. Mickey crashed into them. I can't lie, Goofy is a dumbass, but so far both issues we have faced are not exactly his fault. Sure, he was being negligent to the fact there's a pie in the exhaust of the train, but that wasn't his fault. And this, well, Mickey, you've doomed us all. We then enter a desert-like setting, with Mickey and Minnie riding through on horses trying to catch us. This room's fine. You don't know where you're going due to the fact that this ride is trackless, although you can guess where you're going due to the marks on the floor. But that's a downside to this style of ride, and I'm not going to hate on that. What I will hate on is the next room, which can only be described as sensation overload. It's a carnival, which could be its intended effect, but the colours mix together in a very unsatisfying way, and it doesn't help the fact that the room is very visible throughout the ride as well as the aforementioned floor too. And it bothered me the most in this room. On ride-throughs online, this room is the most watched section, so perhaps this is loved or something, but personally, I wasn't a fan. I did like Donald and I believe Clarabelle Cow manning stations that were practical effects with screens though, a bit like the Simpsons ride Q. Anyways, a storm comes through and whisks away Mickey and Minnie, who we can then see in the next room caught up in said storm. A cute practical effect with the screens showing their faces, even if the screens don't move. This next section is actually my favourite of the ride. We get a moment's peace before all hell breaks loose once again, and we end up underwater. The colour choices for all of these sections fits the vibrant nature of the ride really well, and I love the music here too. Plus, a trumpet playing octopus, or squid, I think that's a squid, is worth like 100 points in my book alone. We then go through these sewers in a really nice use of practical sets and screens to a bustling city, which I didn't mind too much either. It was more practical sets rather than screens in this area, but the limited screens that were used really well, and it's also blocked in a way that masks the floor in front of you and the ceiling above you. However, the fun dies a painful death right after. But for some reason, Daisy forces us to dance against our will in a technically impressive but very out of place scene, which I really could have gone without. The image of all the vehicles dancing in sync is a fun image, but it ruins the pacing of the ride for me. And when we then go back to the chaos of, oh no, stop the train, this feels even more out of place. I remember going, why to it? Well, here's her screen going wrong as sweet revenge. The location of the dancing scene is even stranger when you then transition to the second to last scene, with the front of the vehicle being at risk of being crushed in a factory, but then Mickey saves the day. Two things here. I was at the front row, so I didn't get this wicked view of the world around us changing when we get saved. That's rad. Secondly, if you were at the back of the row, like our friend here, it's likely you may have no real clue what's going on. I will say, I love this ending. Goofy comes back and brings us to a picnic with the gang, with fireworks going off everywhere, and Mickey and Minnie bring back the song they were singing at the start, but with a more sentimental, personal tone. It was really well done, and quite beautiful. It did hit me in the feels that Russi Taylor is no longer with us, as she gives it her all. A chorus of voices join in to hammer the song home as we arrive back at the loading station. What the fuck was that? This ride is Whiplash Central. It goes from weird to good to shit to great, all at a moment's notice. And I do think this ride needs some work. The story was a bit hard to pay attention to at times due to the cluttered scenery. Sound from each room could be heard overlapping. On my ride alone, the vehicle stopped twice, so at those points we were in the room way too long, and yet I think this ride is still pretty fun. It's not perfect by any means, and I hear the Disneyland version in California is actually better, so that gives me hope that these issues that I have got ironed out, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is a great ride, as right now, this trackless dark ride in Florida is good. It could be great, but it's good. Not one I would queue for a long time for, and that videos don't really do justice to. One last point on this ride. Weirdly enough, from the images I have found online, it seems like this fake Chinese theatre is looking better and healthier than the actual one, which I just found very funny. The time is getting on in my day, and I have saved the two rides I was most excited to revisit to last. But to get there, we have to walk through Sunset Boulevard. This area I believe to be the most visually pleasing street to walk down for me. The neon lights at night all look beautiful, and to round the corner and see the Hollywood Tower Hotel is more iconic to me than any main street could ever provide. There are plenty of eateries, one of which I ransacked with ice creams, which I will discuss later, and Fantasmic is also down here too, but we know how that went. It is a simple area, but one that is always fun to walk down, And although I will admit, after you pass the Tower of Terror and round the corner to Rock and Roll Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith and a Lightning McQueen show, that bit does kind of just feel like the nipple to the theme park. To be honest, this is probably my favourite area, just because of the Tower of Terror and how cool it looks. Yeah, it's probably because of that. I cannot comment on the Cars attraction as it was not operating at the time, but both of these rides that I'm about to talk about terrified me in different ways as a child. One for having genuine tension and scares, one because it goes really fast, and I will never ever forget the fact that my father thought it would be the funniest thing to purchase a laminated poster of me screaming my tits off at the start of this ride, and for many, many years it was hung up in our office, mocking little old me. Nowadays I think that's fucking funny. Here's the poster if I can find it. I thought I was going to die. Rock and Roll Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. Quick note, I have no idea how many times I'm about to say it, but it's not called Rock and Roll Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. In retrospect, that's kind of a dopey name. The name is Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. Okay, do we understand that? Okay, moving on. Now, Aerosmith may seem like a weird artist to pick, but I counter you with the fact that Guitar Hero Aerosmith sold really damn well, and that is how young me discovered them. Past their heyday, maybe, but I don't think that's a problem. Disney especially has a problem with forcing IP in places where it doesn't belong. But having a ride based on rock and roll, it makes sense to have a rock and roll band host it. Moreover, the fact that Aerosmith has never been replaced, in my opinion, gives this ride way more personality than it might lose if the Aerosmith license was left to expire, because then you'd remove some of the charm and character the ride provides. Charm and character that extends to the entrance to the ride. You pass under an arch that has the limo you'll be riding on, attached to guitar strings that curve and weave back to their guitar, which sits outside the ride building. Even now, I think that this looks camp as hell and rather dang cool. Quick warning, I had an issue with this ride and the next ride, but we're going to go through this ride as if it all went silky smooth. After a very short queue area with a tall as hell looking roof and some items used by Aerosmith, we enter a pre-show room where Aerosmith is for some reason working on a song that has been released for years. Maybe they're working on a remaster, I don't know. Their manager comes in and says they gotta go and do a show. She then says sorry to us and that we can't come with them. But then at this point, all I'm thinking is, what the fuck are we supposed to be here for then? A tour of the studio? Anyways, the band wants us to join them, and as I just said, the manager says, nah fam, that can go blind. But then a cast member in the room beckons.
What you expect me to do is send them all with you?
Hey, Steven, how about the backstage passes?
Wait a minute. I love that idea. How about some backstage passes?
Thanks to this lovely cast member, the manager calls for us a very fast stretch limo. A very strange pre-show, but it's short and to the point, so I'm not going to hate on that too much. After passing through a very small room, we are now in an alleyway where you can watch the stretch limo take off. If there's anybody who's scared of what's in store for them, they have to stand there as they see and hear the ride go over and over again, with the screams of the riders filling their ears before they are plunged into darkness. Can you tell that 10-year-old me was terrified of this ride? Although dated, the ride vehicle itself feels iconic to me. Seeing all of those people sat in a line, I don't know man, it does something to me. After a bit of crowd work, a countdown appears above your head. 3, 2, 1, and you're off. My goodness, what a launch. And right after you are thrown through an inversion, more commonly known as a loop-de-loop to myself and myself alone. From there, this is going to look kind of ass on video. You pass through vivid signs of Hollywood and road signs. But this is Disney, a place where you'd expect theming and storytelling in a ride. So to have one that's just about thrills and fun, that's perfectly fine with me. And the Aerosmith soundtrack booming through the impressive speakers on the ride vehicle aids in the feeling of just wanting to go, woo yeah, as you ride. The soundtrack isn't always the same too, I believe. It swaps between 5 different music mashups, and it does age in a little bit of rewritability. Is it groundbreaking in terms of ride design and layout? No. Is it fun as fuck? Hell yeah, dude. After arriving backstage at an Aerosmith concert and passing through a rock shop that 10-year-old me bought some drumsticks from to fuel his Rock Band 1 drumming career, we exit the ride building and pass by an aforementioned Cars attraction that I can't comment on as it was not open that day, like I mentioned before. We leave G-Force Records as we make our way to the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. Before we even set foot near the Hollywood Tower Hotel, the memory that sticks out the most for me regarding this entire theme park is related to the Tower of Terror. As you drive down the highway on the way to Hollywood Studios, don't ask exactly where, I have no clue, there was a sign that moved up and down advertising the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. It is stuck in my memory forever. Younger me, who was already super scared to face this ride, got even more terrified for what was to come due to this advertisement on the side of the road. The human brain is a weird thing, huh? We are finally outside the Hollywood Tower Hotel and, wow, what an icon this building is to me. When I went to Universal's Volcano Bay, I was queuing for one of the few rides I did there. I gazed into the distance and I was able to see the tower that far away, and that's how iconic this is to the park, despite its rather classic IP and boxy structure from afar. The work done to the outside of the building to weather it really does make it look creepy, along with the simple but effective mood lighting projected onto the building mixed with its neon sign. It paints a pretty haunting picture before you even stepped foot into the queue line. It didn't help younger me that the riders of the attraction were adding to the ambience. You can hear their screams of excitement and fear combined. A cute touch before we enter the queue, the wait time will be 13 minutes if it is a walk-on. It's the same at Haunted Mansion at Magic Kingdom, which is a very nice touch. Passing through the line with the hotel looming over you, you may notice some overgrowth around the pillars of some of the queue. A nice bit of detail to show how the gardener either got fired or something else is at play here. But you can't afford a better hotel, so you keep going. And if we want to talk details, hot fricking damn. We enter a reception area with a massive high ceiling, cobwebs everywhere, and signs that people seem to have just left their luggage, as well as the fact that the receptionist seems to be on a very long break. From there we enter a pre-show room, themed to a library. You stand in this room, everything is okay, and then suddenly all the lights are off, minus a small TV in the corner of the room. A touch that younger me hated but currently loves is that the pre-show video plays off a TV typical of the size the hotel's time period is based in, the 1930s. It may sound silly, but it's appropriate to the time, and I appreciate theming a lot. It's what I believe is one of the reasons we pay a premium for places like Disney. It was a normal night at the Hollywood Hotel in 1939, although it was a stormy night. We can see from the exterior shot of the hotel that it looks a bit different. There's two frontal pillars that seem to be missing. The hotel was running as usual, but as 5 people entered an elevator, or lift to my British friends, lightning struck said elevator, sending them into the Twilight Zone. We are invited onto a maintenance elevator, so we ourselves can go into the Twilight Zone. Remember a minute ago when I was gushing about theming? Well, grab another towel as I'm about to gush some more. From that library, we are moved into what looks like a generator or boiler room. We are now in the back of the hotel in an area that only workers should be in. It's dark and moody, with lots of fun details to search for. I am sure said details have meaning, but I have no idea what they are, and I'm not going to pretend like I do. I will say, what I experienced was only a shell of what I got years ago. When I was younger, there were cast members here, whose job was just to look fucking scary to people, giving people death stares as they walk past. Not only that, but air would leak from pipes throughout the line, jump scaring people, including younger me. Hello. Got stuff in your eyes, Nessie. You are sat in the elevator. The door is closing. You're about to go on a ride. Both metaphorically and of course literally. Before we begin, I had a dickhead behind me who kept screaming the entire ride behind me at all the wrong points, so screw him. But the ride's description and the walkthrough will be as if there were no dickheads on your ride. One thing I love about this ride, especially for the first time, is the anticipation of what's to come. You got a preview of people screaming from the outside. You think to yourself, did I just see people in one of those windows? So for your first ride, you're just sat wondering what the hell was about to happen. After the doors close and the lights turn on, we see the family that disappeared during the pre-ride video. They disappear once more, and the world as we know it fades around us. Truthfully, I can't remember too much about the story of the ride and the beats the story hits. The reason for that being, a lot of it happens in the dark, and it is told via a voiceover, both of which are very hard to remind myself of through videos online. However, I must state that this is probably one of my favourite ride experiences in the whole world. The ride vehicle you're in feels very, very unique. Moving throughout this corridor themed to an elevator shaft in this big, hulking box feels unusual and creepy. Sure, the things going on around you are creepy, but the fact that, in my opinion, the ride vehicle itself is so unorthodox really helps this ride stand out and be unique. I believe the version of this ride in Florida is the only one to do this. By that I mean it doesn't just move up and down like an elevator would. So one day I would love to compare this version to, say, the Paris version of this ride. But anyways, the main event, the drop. If you haven't been on the ride, the Tower of Terror gives you the feeling of free-falling, and it is glorious, thrilling, and you are guaranteed to make some kind of noise as it is happening, be that glee or horror. You also get a cool view of the park from a window, the one just below the Hollywood Tower sign actually. Sorry for the rather short review of this ride compared to others in this video, but overall this is a ride that has to be experienced in person, and so unique that a ride through online just simply doesn't do it a single bit of justice. If it wasn't obvious, this is a must ride, and I believe it is the icon of the Hollywood Studios theme park for a reason. I respect Disney's choice to retheme the ride in their California theme park, away from the Twilight Zone, but I hope this ride never ever changes. The technology is still impressive today. The theming is not an IP that you need to understand to still get creeped out by the ride, and as I type this paragraph in about 7 months after I wrote it, I just want to get back there and ride it right now and relive the experience again. It is that damn good.
A warm welcome back to those of you who made it, and a friendly word of warning, something you won't find in any guidebook. The next time you check into a deserted hotel on the dark side of Hollywood, make sure you know just what kind of vacancy you're filling, or you may find yourself a permanent resident of the Twilight Zone.
With the attractions out of the way, I next wanted to talk about the park's layout and theming overall. I remember navigating this park at night with no knowledge. It was very hard. Personally, I was struggling to find my way around, an issue that I didn't have at the Magic Kingdom the next day, and the same with Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure. I argue this is down to the park's overall design. Everything is just kind of on its own, and that in itself isn't a massive problem. I actually kind of like that Sunset Boulevard is on its own, especially since it houses so much stuff there. But perhaps a shortcut to either Toy Story Land or Animation Courtyard would help with the flow of the area. And it could also aid in getting people into this rather dead area from my estimations, which could aid the wait times in the park, even if it's just by a tad, since people will be a bit more spread out. I would understand if you don't want a walkway going from Sunset Boulevard all the way around to Toy Story Land, as that may take a while for some people, plus some may argue it would ruin entering that land, though I'd argue it hasn't got much of an entrance to begin with. But I'm sure you could spin that into a relaxing area or something, as some people really do need to have a break from the crowds. So a calm area with benches and a nice walkway would be nice for someone. Heck, I'm sure vloggers and Disney content creators would appreciate it at the very least. What would help a lot too would be a walkway through to the Star Wars land, through the previous dead entryway to Toy Story Mania. But, and this shoots down both of my ideas, I am sure that they are both backstage areas for the team. The original walkway idea, the Toy Story one I just mentioned, This one sure as heck is a backstage area, as I have seen people go through those doors before. Plus, I think there are toilets near or around the Toy Story Land walkway idea. Oh well, it's just an idea. Theming wise, the transitions, for the most part, from one land to another felt natural, and I'm sure once you learn the layout of the park, getting around is a breeze. Although I do prefer a more rounder theme park like Islands of Adventure for first time visits, though I can understand the pros and cons that come with that. Also, Commissary Lane, that shit needs a revamp and a bit of fresh life put into it. It's basically a fancy walkway with nothing to do but an eatery where you eat crap theme park food and looking at posters for shows and films I have never heard of because I do not watch NBC or ABC or whatever three-letter combination the channel is. Almost as if listening, Pixar Place has reopened in that bit of dead space that I was on about, number 53 in the image above. It looks rather underwhelming, but at least there's something there now. Now, after discussing all of that, let's talk about the After Hours event. So, Disney After Hours is an event where you can enter the theme park 2 hours before closing, and get to stay 3 hours after the park closes. The tickets are limited, so you would hope that means reduced queuing times, and overall, I would say so. Although big boy attractions such as the Star Wars rides and Tower of Terror still had quite a mighty queue. Overall, if everything went smoothly that night, I think it wouldn't have been too bad. It does feel rather strange walking around during the After Hours event. The park's crowd levels will be so low that it feels like strange at points. At certain times in my night, I felt like I was somewhere I shouldn't be. One area, the Muppets area, I had all to myself at one point. That was because nothing was open, but still, it felt creepy and cool all at once. It was a surreal experience, and I think offering this semi-private event is very cool. As I kind of alluded to just then, certain parts of the park are closed during the event, but as you can see here, there's plenty open that makes the admission price of pretty much a single day ticket worth it, I'd say. Though it is still pretty pricey, just like anything Disney. An element that is advertised is that there is unlimited select food and beverages available during the event. They're not wrong, but don't skip meals or treats like I did to make room for the food. The drinks are all bottled Coke beverages, and since I don't drink fizzy drinks, I was stuck with Dasani. Food-wise, you can have popcorn, a Mickey ice cream bar, and a Mickey ice cream sandwich. Popcorn was of the salty variety, with no option for a sweet version, which for me is a shame, as I'm a sweet guy, not a salty guy. The ice cream sandwiches were pretty fucking ass. The chocolate layers were so soft and easy to bite into. It didn't taste much, and the marshmallow-like insides, it just tasted like really average Poundland level shit. The ice cream bar, meanwhile, fucking hell. I could gobble up 100 of them, but I stopped myself at 3. To my UK friends, it's basically a Magnum. Milk chocolate outside, vanilla inside, and I'm saying this after having all my calories for the day, and it's 2 AM right now. God fucking damn it, I really want one. 2 final notes regarding the After Hours event thing. Every park in Walt Disney World does this event to some degree throughout the year. During these events, you can see characters walking around. You don't have to queue to meet them. They are just wandering around the park, hopefully having a good time. And will happily say hello to you if you ask. As I walked past, a Donald waved at me. I waved back and offered a fist bump. We bumped, and now we're basically best mates. One thing I wanted to mention was park reservations. Basically, at the time I went to the park, you could not enter the park without a reservation, which is a double-edged sword. It can help to ensure crowds aren't too mental, as for someone like me who's planning a trip, it's not that big of a deal, but it does create more barriers for someone who would possibly want to come to the parks. I filmed myself reserving park tickets for multiple parks, and the overall process was okay, although it was a bit anxiety-inducing. worrying that I'd click the wrong button or something. I remember this was added to Walt Disney World as a way to reduce capacity during the COVID pandemic reopening, but, much to the chagrin of others, it has stayed. Can't lie, by the time this video goes up, I bet it's been removed or there's been some kind of change, so me and post. Has there been a change?
Yes, so from the 9th of January 2024 onwards, theme park reservations will no longer be required. So up until then, you will need them, afterwards you won't. So I guess that's a positive change.
Overall, Hollywood Studios feels like a park that has kind of lost its way a bit, as it's no longer about celebrating the history of movies and movie making. It's more just a park filled with IPs, that of which have movies now. But it's not a bad park in my eyes. I was only there for a short time, but I wanted to explore it more, and I really hope to visit it again one day and really digest everything that that park has to offer, as I think it's a pretty great park, but one that's kind of lost compared to Animal Kingdom or Magic Kingdom. Don't get me started on Epcot though. So is there anything coming to this theme park in the future? From my research, no. From the time I went to the park to now, the only real changes to the park and the surrounding area was that a barbecue place in Toy Story Land called Toy Story Roundup Rodeo Barbecue Restaurant, what a name, has opened, and an immersive hotel experience called the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser closed. Oh, and the Incredibles meet and greet thing like I mentioned earlier. Unlike parks like Epcot that always seem to be under construction, Hollywood Studios rarely gets any updates. Is that a bad thing? Or am I a prophet? And that's it for the actual review of the park, but I had quite a unique experience that may help someone out on their trip. So, long story short, I didn't have the best time. Some nasty rain, which I can't blame the park on, but I had multiple rides break down on me, leading to very long wait times, and one of the times it broke down, I was on the ride, leaving me in a dark tunnel for 15 minutes. So I went to guest services to raise my issues, as I'm a miserable British bastard, and I got to shout out the staff. They were willing to help. However, my best advice here is to stand fast on what you want if you really did have a bad experience. I say this as the compensation I was offered was a skip the line pass for one of the more B-tier rides. That's nice, but considering I was stuck on a ride and waited quite a long dang time for a special ticketed event, I wanted to get something back. In the end, I was satisfied with what I got and was very grateful to the staff for listening to me and my issues. But, and I wanted to end the video on this, as I was so taken aback, I thought, this has to be how the video ends. So I was told when I received the compensation that it was on the mouse. Okay, not bad. I'll take it. But when I had to fill out a few forms, I was told I was doing it, so the mouse knows what's going on. Jesus, Disney.